Part 102. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 1011. Chapter 1011, What do you want to do? But Meng Hejing has some confidence in Cheng Kun's plan. In her previous life, Yan Xianglou was indeed a very protective person. In her previous life, she was able to set her spiritual pet free before she died, which shows that she really cared about that white fox. Otherwise, he would not have wasted his own strength to let the white fox go free under such circumstances. It's just a pity that the white fox didn't realize what a good master it had met and truly regarded it as one of its own. He actually did something ungrateful. However, it will soon understand how lucky it was to meet an owner like Yan Xianglou. He was also curious, what would Yan Xianglou do? Here Cheng Kun and Meng Hejing reached an agreement and immediately arranged for people to spread the news. After Yan Xianglou and Ji Zhizhong successfully broke through and left, because the invisibility patterns on their bodies had not expired, they went to the nearest city to hear any news. Cheng Kun started preparing these things on the 1-month deadline without waiting for Yan Xianglou and Ji Zhizhong to arrive. During this period, he did not fall to the abyss, and came here personally. After the abyss was destroyed and no trace of living people was found, he rushed back and waited for Yan Xianglou to jump into his trap. But he didn't think that the people in the abyss were Yan Xianglou and Ji Zhizhong. In the previous life, although Xuanhuan was Yan Xianglou's spiritual pet, no one who knew that he was Xuanhuan except Ji Zhizhong, Fengyuan Saint, and 6 senior brothers knew that the white dumpling was actually Xuanhuan, the head of the mythical beast. And the 4 great beasts are Ji Zhizhong's spiritual pets. No one except Yan Xianglou knows about this. This is also the main reason why people in Zhikongtian did not think of the 4 great beasts together with Yan Xianglou and Ji Zhizhong. Yan Xianglou and Ji Zhizhong heard a lot of information as soon as they entered the city. One of the pieces of information made her frown, but she was not surprised. The news was that someone had captured the white fox, Yan Xianglou's spiritual pet in her previous life, and told her to give her 10 days to exchange her soul beads for her spiritual pet. Otherwise, they would skin the white fox, take out its elixir, and destroy its soul. Although the world doesn't know who this person is, Yan Xianglou knows very well that the only person who can take advantage of Xuanhuan is Cheng Kun. Yan Xianglou frowned. She still underestimated Cheng Kun's insidiousness and viciousness, and Xuanhuan paid the price for her betrayal. When she let Xuanhuan live in her previous life, the relationship between her and Xuanhuan was already over. Strictly speaking, she did not expect to meet Xuanhuan again in this life. Since she let her go free in the first place, she just wanted her to live freely. How to take the next step? Now that Xuanhuan has made a choice, she must bear the consequences. I don't know if Xuanhuan regrets betraying her now, but these are not important anymore. She is no longer the easily soft-hearted person after resurrecting her life. The burden on her shoulders now does not allow her to be soft-hearted. However, this matter cannot be allowed to develop like this. After Yan Xianglou knew the address, she looked at Ji Zhizhong. Is it such a coincidence? Because this place is exactly where they are going next, that is, the place where Ji Zhizhong met the man who was chained and sealed underground in the previous life and taught Ji Zhizhong the mysterious pattern technique. Yan Xianglou had never been there in her previous life, but Ji Zhizhong knew it very well. The time it was sent was 9 days ago, which was the day they left the secret realm. Now, there is only 1 day left. Zhikong, is there anything special there? Yan Xianglou asked. Ji Zhizhong was sure that no one would find the man where he was. After all, he had bumped into it by mistake. If Cheng Kun chose to do something there was only one place, and that was in the valley. The peaks there are not high if there is only one special place. It is a strange valley surrounded by the peaks. The surrounding peaks are lush with trees and plants, but there is no grass growing in the valley. Yan Xianglou's eyes lit up when she heard this, it seems that the helper Chang Kun is looking for should be a heavenly master. Zhizhong said, why is Luoluo so sure? Yan Xiangluo sighed, not only am I sure, but I also know that the other party must be a black heaven master. Only a black heaven master would like such a place, because only a place without life can release the black heaven master's power even more. Zhizhong said, Chang Kun knows about your heavenly master's strength, yet he still seeks cooperation with black heavenly master. It must be because he thinks that the other party can beat you. Is there such a powerful black heavenly master in Zhongtian? Yan Xiangluo's eyes flashed back to the day when she snatched the white crystal ball, and she raised the corners of her lips, not only is there, but is it someone I know? Who? Why didn't Zhizhong know that such a powerful black sky master existed? Yan Xiangluo did not hide anything from him, to be precise, he is the disciple who was expelled from the sect by my master, and he is my original uncle. However, these things happened before my master, Saint Fenyuan, established the sect, and I have never met this uncle, but I know who he is. He is the one who captured my soul and wanted to seize the divine bead, but I took away the white crystal ball. These were the secrets of the sect in the past life. Even if Yan Xiangluo trusted Zhizhong, she could not tell him. Now that the sect no longer exists and they are about to confront Meng Hejing, there is no need to hide him. Who is he? Zhizhong asked. Meng Hejing. Yan Xiangluo spit out 3 words. It was only after she recovered her past life memory that she realized that the person who had captured her soul and wanted to steal her divine pearl was the uncle she had never met. Zhizhong was stunned. Is it him? This person surprised Zhizhong. Zhizhong knew this person in his previous life. He was a celestial master second only to Saint Fenyuan. Later, Luoluo celestial master's talent was revealed and he became the first celestial master in Zhikong heaven. Meng Hejing could only rank 3rd. But the celestial master ranked 3rd in the 9 heavens. The celestial master's talent is also extremely strong, but I have never heard that he is the black celestial master. Yan Xiangluo sighed and told Zhizhong what happened at the beginning. Master is still soft-hearted. Yan Xiangluo has experienced a previous life and now lives a new life. She knows very well that some things just cannot be tolerated. You must be ruthless when you need to be ruthless. If you cut the grass without eradicating the root, there will be endless troubles. The master in the previous life was like this, and so is myself. What are Luoluo going to do? Zhizhong asked. Yan Xiangluo said, originally we were going there too, so let's go and solve it together. Zhizhong narrowed his eyes and said, Chang Kun is really sinister. He is trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. No matter whether Meng Hejing takes action or not, as soon as the news is released, people who are interested in the divine beads and soul beads will rush there. Therefore, there is no shortage of people to deal with Yan Xiangluo and Zhizhong. And with Meng Hejing here, Chang Kun has a great chance of getting the soul pearl. The fragrance falls ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 1012. Chapter 1012, A Mistake. And with so many strong men from Zhikongtian continent present, there is a greater chance of taking advantage of the opportunity to get rid of Yan Xiangluo and Zhizhong. Even Zhizhong had to admit that Chang Kun's brain was not very easy to use, but it was a pity that it was not used on the right path. And the Yan Xiangluo and Zhizhong he met were no longer the people he knew in his previous life. However, Zhizhong is also worried that Yan Xiangluo will soften her heart after seeing Xue's miserable state. Yan Xiangluo saw Zhizhong's eyes and understood what he was thinking, and sighed helplessly. Don't worry, I know what to do. Zhizhong held her hand and said distressedly, don't be sad, I'm here. No one understands her mood better than Zhizhong. In her previous life, she treated everyone so carefully and sincerely, but they all betrayed her. The betrayal of those people is understandable, after all, people are selfish, but Xue's betrayal is different from those people. Yan Xiongluo really treats Xue'er as a relative. Xue'er was just a beautiful white fox spirit beast when she met Luoluo. She used countless spiritual objects to improve her cultivation, and even made arrangements for her to transform before she died. It can be said that Xue'er is the person to whom she has devoted the most sincerity. Yan Xiongluo smiled, knowing that Zhizhong felt sorry for her, so she responded softly, yes. The two of them did not stay in the city for long. After hearing some news, they went directly to the place Changkun mentioned, the Changling Mountains. It is the first time for Ruan Xiongluo to come here in the Changling Mountains. As Zhizhong said, there are indeed no mountains that are too high, but they stretch far and wide and can't be seen to the end. Zhizhong came to the valley surrounded by mountains on his back. Sure enough, the mountain and the mountain are like two worlds. The surrounding mountains are lush and green, with various plants and trees luxuriant, and the auras of the spiritual beasts and monsters in the mountains are very strong. But the valley was flat, and the soil was yellow, and indeed there was no grass growing. It's as if someone made this place deliberately. Yan Xiongluo and Zhizhong stood on the mountain and looked at the valley below. Their eyes fell on a huge wooden pillar erected in the center of the valley, with a white fox hanging on the wooden pillar. The white fox was hanging there motionless. If it weren't for the fact that I could feel its breath, I would have thought it was dead. Can't even maintain the human form, it's obvious that Xue'er's cultivation has been abolished. Yan Xiongluo said in her heart that she was not sad at all, but that was a lie. After all, Xue'er spent a lot of lonely time with her in her previous life. But Xue'er's betrayal was real, and Yan Xiongluo knew she couldn't be soft-hearted. There was no one in the valley, but there were secretive people gathered at the foot of the mountain at the edge of the valley. There are countless powerful auras hidden in the surrounding mountains. Yan Xiongluo and Zhizhong did not see Changkun and Meng Hejing, but it was clear that they must be hiding around. Zhizhong asked, Luoluo, should you resolve this matter first or come back and resolve it later? Yan Xiongluo looked at Xue'er deeply and said, today is the 9th day, and tomorrow is the last day. Let's go see that person first, and then solve the matter tomorrow. Zhizhong nodded, well, since these people are so trustworthy, let them wait until the last minute. After saying that, Zhizhong took Yan Xiongluo's hand and turned to head in the other direction of the Changling Mountains. Go away empty. Xue'er's body trembled, as if she sensed the arrival of Yan Xiongluo, and then she couldn't sense anything at all. It smiled bitterly in its heart, knowing that he had betrayed her. How could she come to save him? Only now did she know that Changkun was just using it. Unfortunately, she was so overwhelmed by love that she couldn't believe that people could fall in love with it. It is purely retribution for me to fall into such a fate. Xue'er was so heartbroken that she waited motionless for the painful death of having her skin pulled away and her inner elixir peeled off. This was what she deserved to endure. Changkun, who was hiding in the dark, saw Xue'er move, and immediately used his spiritual consciousness to check the surroundings, but did not feel the breath of Yan Xiongluo. Looking at Xue'er again, he was motionless. Could it be that Yan Xiongluo was here? At this time, Yan Xiongluo and Zhizhong were flying in the air on the Changling Mountains. Although there are no very high mountains in the Changling Mountains, the mountains here are very steep. They are almost all upright cliffs. The trees and plants are so dense that there is almost no place to stay. And the man was locked underground. It was an underground river. The entrance and exit of the underground river were not in the Changling Mountains. Zhizhong was able to enter because he was seriously injured after being chased and fell into a crevice in a cliff. A strong defensive formation was set up in the crevice of the cliff. If he hadn't been very skilled in formations, that day would definitely have been the day he died. It is precisely because of his strong knowledge of formations that he broke the formation after falling in, and fell into the underground river from a straight up and down hole that could only accommodate one person. Later, he searched along the underground river for a long time and found that apart from the entrance and exit of the underground river, there was only the passage he fell into. There is no gap between the entrance and the exit of the underground river. The water flow at the entrance is very fast and it is impossible to get out. If you want to follow the water out from the exit, you must have waterproof beads. In such an environment, this is a safe place for cultivation. It was here that Xuanhuan recovered from his injuries, met the man, made a deal with him and learned his Xuanhuan technique, which is Jiyin. The name of this Xuanhuan technique was originally Jiyin, and it was not chosen by Xuanhuan himself. In his previous life, Xuanhuan only knew that the Xuanhuan Kung Fu was from the ancient times, but after experiencing this life, Xuanhuan understood that the Xuanhuan Kung Fu should have been owned by the Ji family from the ancient times. Only descendants of the Ji family's bloodline, with particularly strong Xuanhuan talent, can learn all the Jiyin techniques, especially the last 10 techniques. Otherwise, even if you get the Ji seal, you can only learn the previous Xuanhuan technique. However, even the previous Xuanhuan technique is the strongest in Zhongtian. In his previous life, that man had not learned any of the last 10 exercises, and Xuanhuan could only learn them in this life. This also shows that the bloodline of the Ji family in Tianqian continent is the bloodline of the Ji family in the ancient times of the Xuanhuan Gongfa. When he was arranging the reincarnation matter, he simply wanted to keep their names. By accident, he actually found a family with the blood of the Ji family in ancient times. It's a pity that after a long period of time, the bloodline has been diluted and there are too few bloodlines left in the Ji family. Although there are outstanding people in the Ji family, there are not those who learn Xuanhuan. And it was because of his special experience and super profound talent that he was able to achieve this. Xuanhuan took Yanxiangluo to the gap in the cliff and landed on the sharp rock beside it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 1013. Chapter 1013 Still Alive. Xuanhuan looked down and said, Luoluo, the entrance can only accommodate one person. You go into the space and I will take you in. Yanxiangluo didn't show any courage and immediately entered Pangu space in Xuanhuan's arms. She watched Xuanhuan jump down in the space. During the whole falling process, Xuanhuan kept breaking the formation. Yanxiangluo saw a black hole below. Sure enough, only one person could fall down. Her eyes went dark. Xuanhuan fell. Entering, he passed through the black hole in a moment, and Xuanhuan's body floated and slowly fell. Yanxiangluo also saw clearly the following situation. There is a raging underground river below. There is such a big underground river underground, and Yanxiangluo is still very surprised. Xuanhuan fell to the edge of the dark river, and Yanxiangluo came out of the space. What's going on with the light here? Yanxiangluo asked curiously. Since it is an underground river and is not connected to the outside, Yanxiangluo thought it should be pitch black, but there was actually a dim light below. Although it was not very bright, she could clearly see everything around the underground river. Xuanhuan pointed to the mountain and said, there are pearl stones deep in the mountain. These dim lights are emitted by the pearl stones through the rocks. Yanxiangluo's eyes lit up. Is there a vein of pearl stone in the Changling Mountains? Xuanhuan shook his head. It's not really a mineral vein. I used my spiritual sense to detect it in my previous life. Only a small part of the pearl stone exists sparsely in the mountain rocks, and the material is not good. Yanxiangluo used her spiritual sense to investigate and found that it was very far and deep. Sure enough, as Xuanhuan said, these pearl stones were sparsely distributed in the rocks, as if to illuminate the existence of this underground river. There are many unexplainable fantasy things in this world, and Yanxiangluo will naturally not dwell on insignificant things. A pair of almond-shaped eyes looked at Jizhong. Where is that person? Yan Xiangluo heard Jizhong say that the man was chained and soaked in a cold pool, but although the water in the underground river was very cold, this was underground and the temperature was very low, but she did not feel that it could be called the cold air of the cold pool. Jizhong pointed to the front and said, "It's about 8 miles ahead." "So far?" Yan Xiangluo was a little surprised when he heard this and said, "How long is this underground river?" Jizhong said, "It runs through the entire Changling Mountains." Yan Xiangluo was extremely surprised. "This is the first time I know that there is such a long underground river in Zhejiangtian." Jizhong smiled, "If I hadn't accidentally fallen, I wouldn't have discovered this place." Although the Changling Mountains are rich in plants, didn't Luoluo discover that there are no rare medicinal materials, and spiritual beasts are also distributed in several not-so-steep mountains? There, that is, in the valley, it is almost impossible to find this place. Yan Xiangluo's apricot eyes suddenly flashed. "Who locked that person here?" Jizhong shook his head. He didn't say anything. After finishing the words, he sighed, 10,000 years have passed, and I don't know if he is still alive." Yan Xiangluo has no doubt about this. Bao Ren must have a strong spiritual support to support him, and his cultivation life is very long, only 10,000 years. As long as his faith does not die, he will not die. Yan Xiangluo asked curiously, "Are you unable to open the chain even though you were a great sage in your previous life?" Jizhong shook his head and said, "After I broke through to the great sage, I didn't have the chance to come here, and then I fell. I don't know if the great sage's cultivation can open the chain, but I can be sure that those below the great sage cannot break it's open." He tried many times without success. Yan Xiangluo's eyes were shining brightly. "Now we are both great saints. If you want to save him, we can try it together." Jizhong Fen narrowed his eyes and said, "It depends on the situation after all. Tens of thousands of years have passed, and we don't know whether he is alive or not. Even if he is alive, it is difficult to guarantee what this person's mental state is. In Jizhong's opinion, that man was a lunatic back then, and he might be even crazier now. He didn't know what the consequences would be if he let such a person go." Yan Xiangluo naturally understood his worries and said nothing more. The two of them quickly headed there in the air. As they got closer, Yan Xiangluo felt the breath of Hantan. 3 miles away, she could already feel the biting cold air. Even before he got there, he could already feel the biting cold air, which showed how cold it was in the cold pool. If this man were alive, his perseverance would be extraordinary. As they got closer, Yan Xiangluo could sense the aura of a living person, and to their surprise, not only was the person alive, but his aura was actually very strong. Jizhong perceives this point more clearly. He has been here before and is very clear that the man's cultivation is suppressed by the iron chain, but now he senses that his cultivation has actually increased. This man is indeed no ordinary person. Jizhong and Yan Xiangluo both had an idea in their minds as to why he was chained here instead of killing him directly. After all, in their eyes, this man can only be a stronger opponent if he remains. While thinking, the two of them arrived at the location of Hantan. Only then did Yan Xiangluo understand that the so-called cold pool was a vortex formed by the underground river flowing here. The airflow, position, and direction here allowed the cold air of the underground river to stay here, forming this cold pool over the years. The water in the cold pool is alive. The water in the underground river flows through here and slips away, but the cold air remains here. It has been 10,000 years since Jizhong came here, and the cold here has become even worse. When the two came to the cold pool, they saw the man chained up, but he was still alive. This is the first time Yan Xiangluo sees a man. His hair and beard are very long, floating on the cold pool. Although his beard is very long, he does not look embarrassed. A pair of cold eyes looked over. When he saw Jizhong, He was stunned for a moment, in disbelief, and then he laughed as if he understood something. In this dark and cold space, the man's laughter was a little scary. Yan Xianglou glanced at Zhizhong and saw that his mood had not changed at all. He blinked and used the power of the Heavenly Master to look at the man. At this sight, Yan Xianglou's eyes suddenly changed. This man's luck was so rare. No wonder he was able to live for such a long time in such an environment. I thought it was because he had spiritual support before, but now it seems that that is just one reason. The main one is his luck. The man laughed for a while, then stopped, looked at Zhizhong and said, "Boy, I really saw you right back then. Are you reincarnated?" Zhizhong was speechless and looked at the man indifferently with a pair of very beautiful phoenix eyes. The man glanced at Xianglou indifferently and continued, "Is she the woman you like?" The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 1014. Chapter 1014, Perfection. Zhizhong was still speechless. The man continued, "The transaction oath between you and me in the previous life ended when you died. You didn't do it willingly. Why did you come to my place after reincarnation? See if I'm dead." Zhizhong actually nodded. The man was stunned for a moment, and then he laughed again, this time more freely. "Well, that's right. If he is really dead, at least someone will collect his body for me." Although the man's tone was strong, Yan Xianglou could hear the sadness. Yan Xianglou turned to look at Zhizhong, wondering why he didn't speak. "How have you learned the Xuanhuan technique this life?" The man's voice suddenly softened, and he was completely different from before. Yan Xianglou realized clearly that this person had been locked up here for more than 10,000 years. His state of mind could not have changed, and it was possible that he could split into two personalities. Better than the previous life. Zhizhong finally spoke. The man's eyes lit up when he heard this. "The bloodline of your reincarnation is the bloodline of the ancient Ji family." He knew very well that Ji Yin's Xuanhuan technique would not be able to learn the last 10 Xuanhuan without the blood of the ancient Ji family. His Xuanhuan talent and Zhizhong's Xuanhuan talent in the previous life were both top-notch geniuses, and they could only learn the last 10 Xuanhuan. After all the previous Xuanhuan techniques, I can't learn the last 10 Xuanhuan techniques. Zhizhong said that if he is stronger than the previous life, he must be able to learn the last 10 mysterious patterns. Zhizhong nodded, "Yes." The man paused for a moment and then laughed heartily, "I finally have a point of perfection." Zhizhong understood what he meant. Although he did not become a disciple, it was just a transaction. There was no title of master and disciple, but the reality of master and disciple. This was the main reason why Zhizhong came back to see if he was still alive. Subconsciously, Zhizhong already regarded him as his master. Although he forced himself to choose death in the last life, he still understood him. After all, he agreed to the original deal himself. Because of the Heavenly Master, Yan Xianglou could empathize with the man's feelings, and a sad mood welled up in her heart. Although she didn't know the man's experience, Yan Xianglou did not sense any malice from him. On the contrary, his body was full of positive energy, which was an indescribable power. It is something that only the Heavenly Master can perceive. Yan Xianglou didn't know why the man could maintain such a state of mind after being locked here for thousands of years. However, a person with such a state of mind could not be that bad. "What level of cultivation are you at now?" Zhizhong suddenly asked. The man was stunned for a moment, then shook his head, "I don't know for sure. You know, the chains have suppressed my cultivation level. I can't determine the level of cultivation level, but it should be above the 5th level of the Great Sage." Zhizhong raised his phoenix eyes and said, "If you break the chain, your cultivation level should reach the peak of mainland cultivation level." Zhizhong had tried to break the chains in his previous life, and knew how strong the chains were in suppressing cultivation, so he made an estimate. A ray of light flashed through Yan Xianglou's apricot eyes. If the man was released, he would probably be one of the strongest men in the 9 heavens. If it works well, it will be a help, but if it goes the other way, it will be a big trouble. The man was stunned and said, "Can you open this chain?" Xuanhuan said, "I can't, but my wife can." Yu Xianglue was stunned, "Could she? How come she doesn't know?" Xuanhuan looked at Yan Xianglue and said, "She wo." Yan Xianglue immediately understood why she had always forgotten about Shiwo's ability. Shiwo can refine everything in the world, so a chain should not be a problem, but how do you put the chain into the stone nest to refine it? The man glanced at Yan Xianglue in surprise, then calmed down after getting excited. "What are your conditions?" Zhizhe Kong knows that working with smart people is a pleasure. Therefore, he said without hesitation, "You must swear an oath not to do anything that harms Zhekongtian continent and not to be an enemy of our husband and wife." The man was stunned and looked deeply at Zhizhe. "I didn't expect that you have lived this whole life and still have such a heart for the righteousness of the world." Zhizhe shook his head, "No, you are wrong. I have never had that thing. In the last life, besides hatred, there was only Luo in his heart. In this life, he lived more simply, and there was only Luo. Because protecting Zhezongtian and eliminating demons is what Luo has to do, then he has to help Luo complete it. It has nothing to do with whether you have the righteousness of the world in your heart. Only he knows this best." The man was obviously surprised. He looked at Yan Xianglue and looked at her seriously. "It was because of her that you died in the last life, right?" Although it was a question, the man was already sure in his heart. Zhijudian nodded, admitting that his death in the previous life was indeed due to Luo. Then he added, "It's just that the fall happened before, otherwise I would have fallen because I couldn't fulfill my promise to you." Yan Xiangluo's heart ached. Although the two of them knew each other and loved each other in the previous life, she realized at this time that among the two of them, it was Zhizhe who gave the most, and he gave everything. It was the same in the previous life, and it is the same in this life. Suddenly I felt as if I had been a little sorry for Zhizhe in both past and present lives. Zhizhe noticed the change in her mood and held her hand. "I'm very happy with it." The implication is to tell her that there is no need to feel guilty or sad. All this was done voluntarily and he was very happy. She was the only light in his life in the past and present life, and he would be happy to do anything for her. This is the truth. Yan Xianglue pursed her lower lip, her apricot eyes met Zhizhe gaze, and then she gave him a bright smile. "It's so sweet." The two of them understood each other tacitly without any other words. The promises made under the evergreen tree for life after life in 2 lives were sincere. Although they did not achieve the true fruition in the 2 lives, isn't this life already complete? As long as they succeed in slaying the demon, they will definitely be happy in this life. The man was filled with emotion when he saw the man and woman standing side by side, unable to blend in with anyone or anything. There was once a woman who said she wanted to share the joys and sorrows with him and spend a lifetime with him, but the end result was that he was locked here for more than 10,000 years. Because of this, he does not believe that the love between men and women will last forever, but the man and woman in front of him lived and died together in the past life, and will meet and stay together again in this life. Can they become what he once hoped? Thinking that the two of them died at such a young age in their previous life, is love really beautiful? If love brings only pain and hatred to each other, then what is the meaning of existence? The man knew very well that his perseverance for more than 10,000 years, apart from his firm nature, was mainly due to his unwillingness. He wanted to see her again, and he would only believe it if she heard it from her own words. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 1015. Chapter 1015 Making a Choice. "I agree to your terms," the man suddenly spoke. "These 2 conditions are not difficult for him to achieve. He has no intention of destroying the entire continent. If the two of them really help him break the chains and rescue him from the sea of misery, they will be his benefactors. Even if he falls to this extent, he is not an ungrateful person. Jijudian nodded and said, "This also fulfills the promise I made to you in my previous life." Although the promise from his previous life has disappeared because of his death and cannot bind him, Jizhong lamented the man's experience and his persistence in feelings, and was willing to help him once. It was also to repay his kindness for teaching him the Jiyin Xuanhuan technique. But he does not want the people he helps to cause trouble in the mainland in the future. The man immediately made an oath without delay. As long as they help him break the chains on his body, he will never do anything to harm the Zhejiangtian continent in his lifetime, let alone be an enemy of Yan Xiangluo and Jizhong, and will help if necessary. Them once. Yan Xiangluo and Jizhong did not expect that the man would actually add a condition that he would help them once. This also shows that the man is indeed a person who values love, justice, and commitment. Coupled with what Yan Xiangluo saw about his luck, it was not impossible to save him. The two of them knew the man's name only after he made the oath. Even Jizhong knew that the man's surname was Wang and his name was Yuandong. Although they did not recognize the man in front of them, they had heard the name Wang Yuandong. Even Jizhong was surprised when he heard his name. Because Wang Yuandong was the #1 genius in Zhejiangtian continent at that time, but he disappeared as quickly as he rose. People thought he had fallen in some training place, but he didn't expect that he was locked here. Don't resist, we need the help of flames and alchemy furnaces, but don't worry, the flames have spiritual consciousness and will only burn what we want to burn, Yan Xiangluo said to Wang Yuandong. Wang Yuandong nodded, now that I have made a decision, I trust you. After finishing his words, Jizhong glanced at Jizhong and said, just because this kid in front of you has released his promise to me and still wants to come see me and help me out of my misery after reincarnation, you are worthy of my trust. Yan Xiangluo and Jizhong both knew that he must have fallen into the situation because of someone he trusted. If he could trust them, he would struggle in his heart. Yan Xiangluo said, although you have suffered for more than 10,000 years, you still have a long life, and there is no need to waste it on things that have lost meaning. Wang Yuandong was stunned for a moment, then smiled, little girl, are you worried that I won't survive? Yan Xiangluo shook her head, no, I want you to live happily. Wang Yuandong was stunned. After living for so long, this was the first time someone besides his mother wanted him to live happily. This feeling was strange, but very happy. Okay, now that my knot has been resolved, I will definitely try what it's like to live happily. Wang Yuandong smiled from the bottom of his heart. Yan Xiangluo also smiled, that's right. Who hasn't had some bad experiences? That's true. Wang Yuandong felt that his heart was much happier. Yan Xiangluo asked, which part of your body does the chain on your body pass through? Since Wang Yuandong's body was soaked in the cold pool from the chest down, it was impossible to see whether there were chains underneath. Wang Yuandong glanced at the chains that passed through his pipa bones, it only passed through the pipa bones on both sides of me. The chains passed through the rocks behind. I couldn't feel its specific length, nor could I feel the top of it, how powerful it is. No matter how hard you try, you can't destroy it. As soon as Yan Xiangluo thought about it, Shiwo came out of Pangu space. Shiwo, go and have a look, can you refine the chain? Ruan Xiangluo said. Upon hearing this, Shiwo immediately flew over and carefully checked the chains on Wang Yuandong's body. Wang Yuandong also sensed Shiwo at close range. He said in shock, is it the legendary furnace stone nest that can refine all things? Yan Xiangluo didn't hide anything, she admitted frankly, yes. Wang Yuandong immediately understood that they would only burn what they wanted to burn, as they said before, and Shiwo would definitely be able to do what other furnaces and tripods couldn't do. This little girl is a person of great good fortune. Only a person of great good fortune can rule over the spiritual beings in the world. He was really excited at this time, and he could really escape from this suffering today. After Shiwo sensed the chain, he used his spiritual sense to communicate with Yan Xiongluo. Master, it would be a pity to destroy this chain. Yan Xiongluo knew that Shiwo existed in ancient times, and it knew a lot of information that they did not know. Do you know the origin of this chain? Yan Xiongluo asked. Shiwo said, I know that this chain comes from ancient times. It is a soul-locking chain made from colorful stones by the gods who created the world in ancient times. It was used to deal with evil beasts in ancient times. This is the only one. Yan Xiongluo was shocked after hearing this. She sent a message to Jizhong and told him the origin of the chain. Jizhong said to Shiwo, do you have a way to take out the chain without burning it? Shiwo said to Ruan Xiongluo, I can't, but the master can. Yu Xiongluo was stunned, could she? Immediately asked, how can I do this? Shiwo said, as the name suggests, the soul-locking chain locks a person's soul. If a person's soul is not there, the soul-locking chain will naturally lose its meaning. Yan Xiongluo understood immediately, but to do this, he must use his soul-controlling power to capture Wan Yuandong's soul. Can Wan Yuandong trust himself so much? Yan Xiongluo told Jizhong how to use the stone nest, and Jizhong frowned. Although Wan Yuandong couldn't hear the conversation between Yan Xiongluo and the others, he could sense the atmosphere between the two of them and a furnace tripod from Jizhong's question to Shiwo, and knew that there must be some difficulty. If you have anything to say, just tell me. Jizhong and Yan Xiongluo looked at each other and said, to be honest, if he agrees, we will keep the chains. If he doesn't agree, we will destroy the chains. Today people must be saved. Although the chains are very precious, they know how to choose in the face of the promise and will never leave any hidden danger to their state of mind. Yu Xiongluo said, okay. After listening to Jizhong's words, Wan Yuandong understood that things were not that simple. Jizhong simply told Wan Yuandong the origin of the chain and the solution, letting him choose. Wan Yuandong was shocked. This little girl was actually a heavenly master. She could take out a person's soul and return it to the body. This was not something that any level of heavenly master could do. But now he had to make a choice. After the two children knew the origin of the chain, they were not greedy and let him make his own choice. He believed that if he didn't accept the soul capture, the two of them would really destroy the chain. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 1016. Chapter 1016 Contract Chain. He also felt it was a pity that this soul-locking chain, which was the only one in the ancient world, was destroyed like this. After all, when he was chained, he was already a great saint and couldn't break free. Now that his cultivation level is stronger, he still can't break free, which shows how powerful the soul chain is. He made a choice after a moment, leave the chain. The chain is left to you. Maybe this is God's will. You should be able to use it in the future. Yang Xiang breathed a sigh of relief. She was really reluctant to part with the soul chain. Don't worry, my celestial master's soul control technique is very strong and will never hurt your soul. This has another advantage. I will cure all the hidden diseases that have been left in your body for thousands of years. At the same time, let your soul body and soul power return to their best condition. In this way, your body will not feel any discomfort after leaving Hantan, and your body will even be better than before. Yuan Xiongluo is not a free person. Since the other party trusts her, she will also give some benefits to the other party. These benefits are something Wan Yuandong dreams of, but for Yan Xiongluo they are just a piece of cake. Wan Yuandong didn't expect such an unexpected surprise, and immediately smiled, I'm really lucky. He knew very well that his body had been soaked in the cold pool for thousands of years. Although he continued to practice, there was no way there would be no hidden dangers. His body knew that he was suffering every moment when it was eroded by the cold air. The soul body was locked by the soul chain, the soul power was also damaged, and all the abilities were restored, which is naturally a good thing. Yan Xiangluo nodded, "Your luck will indeed be very good from now on." After Wang Yuandong knew that Yan Xiangluo was a heavenly master, he naturally knew that everything she said was not without purpose and was seen by her heavenly master. "Let's get started," Wang Yuandong said impatiently. "Be able to leave here and still have a comfortable body. This is what he has been looking forward to for thousands of years. Now that it is finally coming true, how can he not be in a hurry?" Yan Xiangluo thought, and a purple fist-sized crystal ball appeared in her palm. For other heavenly masters, soul stirring may require a lot of crystal ball power to support, but for her, a fist-sized crystal ball is enough. "Zhuzhong, you are responsible for holding the chains, and I will bring his body back," Yan Xiangluo said to Ji Zhuzhong. When the soul is lost, the body loses control. Naturally, it must be brought back in time, otherwise it will sink into the pool and cause greater harm to the body. Ji Zhudian nodded. He knew very well that once the chain left Wang Yuandong's body, it would not be possible for anyone to get it. Yan Xiangluo used her soul-controlling power to spin the crystal ball. Soon, Wang Yuandong felt a force pulling on his soul. He instinctively wanted to resist, but he immediately relaxed his strength. Yan Xiangluo took his soul out of his body easily. Wang Yuandong's soul floated next to Yan Xiangluo, and he saw a spiritual force from Yan Xiangluo wrap around his body, fish it out of the cold pool and put it on the ground. The soul-controlling strength of shocking fragrance was actually completed in an instant. At the same time, Ji Zhuzhong grabbed the soul-locking chain that was about to retract into the rock, and was fighting against the soul-locking chain. And Yan Xiangluo put her other hand on Xiang Yuandong's body and moved it slowly from head to toe. Wang Yuandong saw that the color of his body changed instantly. If he hadn't known that his soul was not in his body, he would have "I thought I was just asleep and perfectly healthy." Yan Xiangluo waved his hand and a warm force fell on his soul body, which immediately felt very comfortable. Before he could feel it carefully, he heard Yan Xiangluo say, "Go back." Wang Yuandong's eyes lit up and he was sucked in by a suction force. Then he opened his eyes and sat up from the ground, feeling comfortable. With a perfect body and a soul that showed no discomfort, he looked at Yan Xiangluo in shock. "You are also an alchemist with excellent medical skills." This sentence is affirmative. Even an alchemist needs elixirs to cure his chronic physical ailments, but Yan Xiangluo uses vitality. This is not something an alchemist can do. It must be someone with wood power and extremely high medical skills. Yan Xiangluo healed his body and soul in such a short period of time, leaving him without any discomfort. This shows how powerful her medical skills are and how strong her wood power is. Yan Xiangluo had no time to pay attention to him and flew up to help Ji Zhuzhong. Wang Yuandong also came to his senses. "I'm here to help too. Girl, you go with me." Yan Xiangluo knew that Wang Yuandong's cultivation was stronger than the two of them, so she happily went to Ji Zhuzhong's side. The three of them have used their strongest strength, but the soul-locking chain is still motionless. On the contrary, it is still shrinking into the rocks. Yan Xiangluo shouted, "If you don't come out happily, I will completely destroy you." Wang Yuandong twitched the corner of his mouth, and she was threatening like this. Could a chainman understand her threat? Yu Xiangluo is not just a verbal threat to the soul-locking chain, she has already released the flames of stone nests and fire beads. "If you don't come out, I will burn your posture immediately." As expected, the struggle for the soul-locking chain relaxed, and then he slipped out of the rock with a clatter and fell into the hands of Yan Xiangluo, with a fawning posture. Wang Yuandong glanced at his empty hands. "I wish I had threatened it directly." Yu Xianluo also felt that there was no need to go to all the trouble of capturing the soul, and it would be much more satisfying to threaten it directly. Ji Zhong reminded, Luoluo, contract it? The treasures of ancient times are not just as simple as possessing spiritual consciousness. It is safer to make a contract while you can subdue it now. Yan Xiangluo was not polite, and directly dropped a drop of blood on the soul-locking chain. A red light flashed, and she was connected to the soul-locking chain. Ji Zhong and Wang Yuandong were completely relieved at this time. Yan Xiangluo glanced at the soul chain that turned into a bracelet and put it on her wrist, and asked doubtfully, since the soul chain is so powerful, who could control it to lock you in the first place? This has also been Ji Zhong's doubt all along. Wang Yuandong sighed, it's not that person who can control the soul locking chain. It was me who was tricked by her and ended up here. The soul locking chain has always been here. Yan Xiangluo and Ji Zhong understood, so let's just say, how can the soul locking chain be controlled by others? That's it? Ji Zhong glanced at Wang Yuandong and said, are you going to find her? Wang Yuandong's eyes paused and he said in a somewhat ethereal voice, if you want to go there, things must have an ending, right? Yan Xiangluo's apricot eyes flashed for a moment. She was a little curious about the grudge between Wang Yuandong and that person, but she also knew that people would not talk about such things, so it was better for her not to ask. Wang Yuandong waved his hand, and his long beard was cleaned up. Yan Xiangluo looked at him in surprise, he was so young, he looked like he was only in his 20s. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 1017. Chapter 1017 Hindsight. Wang Yuandong's appearance is extremely gentle and elegant, but one must ignore the coolness and sadness in his mood that have accumulated due to the cold air for thousands of years. Wang Yuandong straightened the length of his hair again, glanced at Yan Xiangluo, and she immediately turned around. Wang Yuandong changed into clean clothes, and his whole temperament suddenly changed. After cleaning up, he turned out to be a handsome man. However, he should have been a gentle and elegant man before, but now he is a cold and handsome man. Wang Yuandong knew that they were curious about how he was locked up here. I was tricked into coming here. It was said that there was a treasure in the cold pool that could improve my cultivation. I wanted to get the treasure to give to her, but I was locked by a chain when I entered the cold pool. I still don't know how the chain was triggered. Ji Zhong and Yan Xiangluo both knew who she was in his mouth. Ji Zhong asked, how did she know this place? Wang Yuandong shook his head, do you think she would tell me in that case? Ji Zhong looked at him with pity. Wang Yuandong twitched the corner of his mouth and changed the subject, where are you reborn? Ji Zhong withdrew his gaze and said, inferior continent, I just returned to Zhongtian. A simple sentence summed up their path of spiritual practice, but Wang Yuandong understood that their path of spiritual practice would never be simple. They came to Zhongtian from the lower continent at such a young age. Although they now have the memories of their past lives, their memories will not be available until at least the higher continent. Before, they still had to rely on their experiences in this life. These two people, they are not simple people. If you need any help, please contact me. Wang Yuandong took out the sound transmission stone that had not been used for 10,000 years and asked Ji Zhong to connect with the breath of his sound transmission stone. Ji Zhong did not refuse. After connecting, Wang Yuandong looked at his sound transmission stone, raised his hand, and erased all connections. The person who left him when he was in trouble has no need to reappear in his life. It is better to disappear like this. Yan Xiangluo and Ji Zhong didn't think there was anything wrong with him doing this. Friends are friends who share will and woe, and so are relatives. Otherwise, there would be no need to exist. Tell me about the situation outside, Wang Yuandong said to Ji Zhong. The three of them walked towards the entrance of the cave where they fell. As they walked, Xuanhuan briefly told him what he now knew about Zhekongtian's situation. Wang Yuandong was extremely shocked. 10,000 years ago, when he was locked here, the demon lord had not yet appeared. He really didn't know that the Zhekongtian continent was already in such crisis, and the mainlanders were still fighting for some selfish interests. Wang Yuandong's complex eyes fell on the two of them. You want to get rid of the devil? Xuanhuan and Yan Xiangluo looked at each other, and Yan Xiangluo said, the demon must be eliminated, otherwise the continent will cease to exist. This is not only our responsibility, but also the responsibility of the entire continent. Then why don't you tell the entire continent the facts? Wang Yuandong asked with some confusion. If you inform them earlier, the mainlanders can prepare earlier, and won't they have a better chance of winning when they face the demon lord? Yan Xiangluo and Xuanhuan shook their heads together. It's useless to say it earlier. 10,000 years ago, there were only more than 300 people who responded. Now these people are not as good as the powerful people 10,000 years ago. Hard. Are you preparing to face the demon lord yourself? Wang Yuandong felt that it was impossible to win at that time. Yan Xiangluo and Xuanhuan shook their heads together. We don't have the strength yet. Wang Yuandong looked at them puzzled. Then what do you want to do? Let's take it step by step. Although there is not much time, there is still some time. We will decide what to do based on the situation, Yan Xiangluo said. Although they have a plan, they will not tell Wang Yuandong. Not to mention whether he is trustworthy or not, even where they are going next cannot be leaked. Wang Yuandong glanced at the two of them, knowing that they had reservations about what they said, so he didn't ask any more questions. Originally, he really didn't have any other thoughts, but the other party couldn't completely understand it. Believe in yourself, she could also understand. The three of them came to the entrance of the cave where they fell. Wang Yuandong said, let's part ways. Xuanhuan and Yan Xiangluo bowed to him and said goodbye. Xuanhuan said, I hope you can successfully untie your knot. Wang Yuandong smiled bitterly and said, I'd like to lend you some good words. He knew very well that tens of thousands of years had passed, and things would have changed a lot even if he knew the answer to what happened back then. It actually didn't mean much anymore. He knew that he and she would never go back to the past. Even if she had her own reasons, what happened 10,000 years ago and the pain he had experienced for 10,000 years could not be treated as if they had not happened. He really just wanted to know the truth and untie his knot. Yu Xiangluo's words still touched him. This little girl's mood was indeed very broad. There was no need to worry about things that had no meaning anymore. After untying his knot, without affecting his state of mind, he will try to live according to the little girl's ideas. Love is gone, but the path of the strong must continue. Wang Yuandong rose up in the air and left the underground river first. Xuanhuan and Yan Xiangluo waited for a while, and Yan Xiangluo still entered the space. Although Xuanhuan was here for the first time in this life, he had the experience of his previous life and got out smoothly. When he came to the top, the formation was still there. Xuanhuan quickly passed through the formation. When he left the formation, he saw Wang Yuandong's figure disappearing. It can be seen that Wang Yuandong's formation skills are not low. And he felt very clearly that Wang Yuandong was suppressing the power of the promotion. He should have gone to find a safe place to break through the promotion. There is one more person with the highest cultivation level in the mainland. Just don't know when he and Luoluo will become one of the strongest people in the mainland. Yu Xiangluo came out of Pangu space. Xuanhuan said, go deal with the white fox. More people should have come there. Wang Yuandong's matter has been resolved, and they will go there after they deal with the white fox. Yan Xiangluo nodded, and suddenly thought that they had used the invisibility pattern, and the 3 days were not up, and today was the first day, but how could Wang Yuandong see them? If he can see it, does it mean that people with the same cultivation level as him can also see it? How could Wang Yuandong see us? Yan Xianluo stopped and asked. Zhizhong smiled, how could Luoluo be so cute? Only in hindsight did I realize something was wrong. I want the other party to see this invisibility mysterious pattern. All I have to do is input the mysterious pattern's breath into the other person's body. However, when we were separated, I had revoked Wang Yuandong's rights. Now that we meet, he can't see us either. Of. Yan Xianluo breathed a sigh of relief. I thought I wouldn't be able to hide this from a strong person with a level 9 cultivation level of the Great Sage. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 1018. Chapter 1018 I'll help you once. Although we can hide it from their eyes, our aura is not at all gone. If they are at the 9th level of the Great Sage, they should be able to sense a trace of aura after all, they are strong, Zhizhong explained. Yan Xianluo frowned when he heard this. We still have to be more careful later. Zhizhuyan nodded. The attraction of the divine bead was too great. No one could guarantee that those with the highest cultivation level in the mainland would not covet the divine bead. At this moment, Wuji, who went to check for news about Ji's family, came back. Wuji not only checked the news of the Ji family, but also the Zhao family. This was Zhizhong's order. No spiritual beast could compare to Wuji's strength in this regard. Zhizhong communicated with Wuji for a moment and already knew the current situation of the Ji family and the Zhao family. The Zhao family doesn't matter, after all, he only has hatred and no other feelings for the Zhao family, but the Ji family. When I think of Zhizhong of the Ji family, I feel an indescribable emotion in my heart. The Ji family, who had to protect their mother even if she lost her life, have become really lonely after thousands of years. I don't know how my mother would feel if she knew this. Yan Xianluo sensed that Zhizhong's aura was a little lonely, and reached out to hold his hand. You have me. Zhizhong came back to his senses and smiled, and shook her hand firmly. I'm fine, I just feel sorry for my mother. Yan Xianluo knew that the mother Zhizhong was talking about was his mother from the previous life. In this life, he had never even seen his mother. In the previous life, his mother was plotted to death by her nephew when he was 10 years old. Speaking of which, the relationship between his mother and his mother in his past and present life was very weak. That's what mother wanted, otherwise how could she be plotted against with her talent and strength? Yan Xianluo thought for a while and said. Zhizhong suddenly realized why such a strong mother was tricked by Zhizhun's, who was only a teenager at the time. Mother was so deeply hurt by her lover, in fact, she probably didn't want to live for a long time. Living like a zombie is partly because she has a son who has not yet grown up, and secondly, because her uncle risked his life to save her and has not repaid the kindness, and Zhizhun's calculated that she would give her an excuse to leave. At that time, I was already 10 years old. Although life on my own was a little difficult, it was not life-threatening. And Zhizhun's plan made her return her uncle's life-saving grace. She gave up all love and affection. Things that bothered me in my previous life are now instantly clear to me. After understanding it, although he felt relieved, he also felt a sense of sadness. Isn't there a true love that goes both ways and stays together until old age? He and Luoluo loved each other in both past and present lives, and he and Luoluo still had memories of 2 lives, but neither of them had a good ending. What about this life? Zhizhong suddenly felt a little confused about the way forward. Looking down at Luoluo's worried eyes, he cursed himself secretly, thinking about what he was doing. As long as they worked hard to get to each other in this life, he didn't believe that their love would not be fulfilled in 3 lives. Let's go, Zhizhong said softly. Yan Xianluo felt relieved when she felt that the aura on his body had calmed down. The 2 of them rose into the air and came to the valley again. The white fox's condition is even worse, and his breath is weak. Yan Xianluo said to Zhizhong, wait for me here, I will go there myself. Zhizhong doesn't want to, so how can she rest assured that she can go there by herself? There are so many powerful men with great saint-level cultivation here that they can't even count them. But before he could say anything against it, Yan Xianglou said again, "It's just a matter of a few words." Soon looking at him with watery almond eyes, Ji Zhong immediately understood that she wanted to say a few words to Baihu alone. "Okay, I'll wait for you here." Ji Zhong let go of her hand. Yu Xianglou smiled, "It's good to have a lover who understands you." Yan Xianglou teleported to the white fox. Although Shuer couldn't see her, she still felt her. After all, we had a contract, and he still sensed her soul aura. Shuer wanted to raise her head to look at her, but because her breath was weak and she had no strength, she couldn't do such a simple movement. Yan Xiangluo's voice sounded in her consciousness, "Do you still want to live?" Shuer was surprised. She should have known that he had betrayed her, otherwise she would not have refused to go to the place they agreed on, and Cheng Kun would not have used such extreme means to force her out. But since he knew it, he must have known it was a trap, so why did she come again and didn't ask her why he betrayed her when they met? Instead, he asked her if she still wanted to live. Does she still want to save it? If your cultivation is abolished, what will you do if you survive? Shuer already regretted being treated like this by Cheng Kun. She thought that the love beyond the world was just a scam from beginning to end, and she betrayed the person who was best to her. It knew very well that when Yan Xianglou contracted herself, it was not because of how good her talent was. On the contrary, her talent was very mediocre. Yan Xianglou just liked that she was well behaved and sensible and needed a companion. How lucky I am to have met her. It knows very well how many cultivation resources Yan Xianglou has spent on it in order to make it successful in cultivation and transformation. Even before she died, she not only cancelled the contract but also prepared the spiritual treasures she needed for her transformation. And it was because a man betrayed her. Why isn't she angry? Think Shuer answered with great effort in her consciousness. Even so, who would want to die if he could live? Yan Xiangluo's tone was calm, "Okay, I'll help you one more time to keep you alive." Shuer was shocked. She had already betrayed her and she still wanted to help her. Was she stupid? How come you are still so merciless after resurrecting your life? But in her current situation, she couldn't even speak a complete sentence, and she couldn't ask her doubts at all. Yan Xianglou said again, "When the senior brothers brought you back in the previous life, you had just gathered the strength of the elixir. Now you are almost the same as when we first met in the previous life. You have to start from scratch in this life." Shuer suddenly understood that Yan Xianglou did not care about its betrayal, but punished it in her own way. With his own cultivation talent, it is almost impossible to return to the state when he first met her in his previous life and practice to transform. Even surviving is difficult. She is telling herself with facts how precious everything she gave to her was, but she betrayed her so cruelly that she still left it alive, letting herself live in regret every moment. Such a punishment can be said to be more painful than death. Yan Xianglou is also telling you that I will give you a chance to live again to see if you can live as well without her as you did with her in the previous life. If it was just because of its current situation that it regretted before, now it is really shameful and regretful for everything it has done. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 1019. Chapter 1019 is no longer needed. But Shuer couldn't say anything, and couldn't even raise her head to look at her. It wants to see what Yan Xianglou looks like now. How do you look at yourself? Are you disgusted and disappointed? It's a pity that Yan Xianglou didn't give it this chance. Shuer was even more shocked at the current cultivation level of Yan Xianglou. After all, she knew very well how many strong people were around her, covertly and covertly. Cheng Kun is very cautious and thorough in his work. Since he used her as bait, he must be well prepared. How did Yan Xianglou manage to stand in front of so many powerful people and talk to him without being discovered? Although she uses spiritual communication, Yan Xianglou didn't want to say anything more to Xue'er. She raised her hand and a stream of life force fell on Xue'er. Xue'er suddenly felt the powerful life force surging in her body. Its breath that was weak before has recovered in an instant, but its destroyed cultivation cannot be restored. He knew this very well, but surviving was the best outcome. After all, he never thought that he had betrayed Yan Xianglou and that she would come to save him. Xue'er felt her body and strength. Just as Yan Xianglou said, it was the same as when they first met in the previous life. It was the strength that had just been condensed and started to practice. Hearing Cheng Kun's shout, everyone was confused. Why didn't they feel that Yan Xianglou was coming? At the same time, he shouted to Meng Hejing, "She's here, don't let her run away." Before she could think any more, her body was suddenly enveloped by a force, and she was instantly separated from the rope hanging her, and then she disappeared. But when they saw the wooden stake and the hanging white fox disappear, they knew that Yu Xianglou had really come and rescued the white fox in full view of the public. Then he used the teleportation mysterious pattern again and left the place where he had just settled. After 2 times, the 9th level powerful men who chased after them could not find their aura. Cheng Kun noticed that it raised its head, and his heart sank. He knew that Yan Xianglou was coming, but he didn't expect that she could approach Xue'er quietly, so he rushed over immediately. But it didn't see anyone. Xue'er's eyes stared at the empty space in front of it in shock. It clearly sensed the aura of Yan Xianglou's soul, so why didn't it see anyone? At this time, it understood how terrifying Yan Xianglou's strength was. Although she had just returned to Zhekongtian continent, her cultivation strength was much stronger than in her previous life. They sensed that the location of Yan Xianglou was exactly where Zhizhong was waiting for her. The moment she arrived with Xue'er, Zhizhong teleported away with her. But it was still too late. When he rushed over, there was nothing there. Xue'er raised her head and looked at Yan Xianglou. Although she couldn't speak now, she still expressed her apology and regret with her eyes. All this happened the moment Xue'er raised her head. When Cheng Kun called out, several of the people with 9th level cultivation of the Great Sage finally sensed a trace of Yu Xianglou's aura, and immediately rushed towards her location. At the same time, the wooden stakes fixed to the ground turned into powder and fell. They were extremely shocked. They were so strong just after they came back. Cheng Kun looked extremely ugly, because he knew very well that this was his last chance to plot against Yan Xianglou, and he would never have another chance in the future. And Meng Hejing was even more panicked. He failed to plot against Yu Xianglou twice, which made him have self-doubt. Is it possible that his talent is not as good as that of his senior brother? Could it be that he can't plot against a girl who just came back from the mainland below? The fragrance falls. Why is this girl so evil? Is her luck so good? Shenzhou, what should I do? Thinking about how powerful she was in controlling souls when she was still in the lower continent, what about now? Meng Hejing's heart sank. He was no match for her at that time. Even if Yan Xianglou stood in front of him now, what strength would he have to keep her? Is it cultivation strength? It seems that Yan Xianglou's cultivation level should not be low. Others were even more shocked. After all, so many of them had not seen the figure of Yan Xianglou, and they had rescued the spiritual pet from the previous life. How strong is Yan Xianglou? At this time, Yan Xianglou and Zhizhong, who once again set off a trend in the mainland, were standing on a mountain range. As soon as Yan Xianglou raised her hand, the Xue'er she was carrying fell into the mountains. You were originally from here, and now that I send you back to your original place, the fate between you and me is over, Yan Xianglou said with no emotion in her voice. This is the place where the senior brothers captured Xue'er, and now she sends Xue'er back here, just like their relationship, back to the time when it didn't happen at the beginning. Xuanhuan knew that this farewell should be forever. It really wanted to say sorry to Yuan Xianglue, but it had just gathered the strength of the elixir and could not speak at all, and it could not communicate with Yuan Xianglue without the contract. I didn't even have a chance to say sorry. Although it still has thousands of years of experience and wisdom, as its strength drops back to its original state, these memories, experiences, and wisdom will degrade, and one day it will not remember anything. This is the greatest sorrow in its heart. I also understood that Yan Xianglue really spared its life and really wanted it to live again. She failed to live up to such a master, and Xuanhuan's heartache couldn't be more severe. But there is no use regretting. Yan Xianglue watched Xuanhuan's body fall into the forest, and the scene when the senior brothers came back with Xuanhuan appeared in front of her eyes. The senior brothers said enthusiastically, "Little junior sister, this little white fox is very well behaved. There is not a single hair on its body. It looks very cute. Please give it to my little junior sister as a companion." The loving words of her senior brothers echoed in her ears, and the white fox's watery and pure eyes appeared in her mind. Yan Xianglue raised her head and looked at the distant sky. "Brothers, I don't need Xuanhuan now, I have the 9th level." She shouted these words. Zhizhong knew how sad she was and immediately held her in his arms. "Yes, I will be there after Luoluo." Xuanhuan, who fell into the forest, heard Yan Xianglue's shout, and felt a sharp pain in her heart. She knew that Yan Xianglue was telling her that after the separation, they would be strangers. Xuanhuan looked up at the sky. Although it was blocked by the tree crown, it couldn't see anything. However, it still held its head high because it knew very well that this was the closest it had ever been to her in this life, and it also remembered her. The clearest moment is that there will never be a chance to meet her again, and she will completely forget her. The most painful days will be before she forgets her, which is also Yan Xianglue's punishment. Zhizhong hugged Yuan Xianglue and left. There is no need to stay in a place that makes her sad like this. The Fragrance Falls Ninefold. Author, Midday Sunday. Chapter 1020. Chapter 1020 Opening the Channel. The place where Zhizhong reappeared holding Yu Xianglue was the place they were going to next. It was also the place where no one in the entire Zhikongtian continent dared to go. It was the place where they went to get the holy objects, and it was also the famous place of death in Zhikongtian. Black Spring. There is no return. They have already experienced this firsthand in their last life. Although Zhizhong used his life to save Yan Xianglue's life, he only allowed her to survive until she handed the sacred object into the hands of her master. Their current cultivation level is the same as when they entered in the previous life, and they are all at the level of the great sage. The reason why they came here at this time is because they know very well that only here can they grow up quickly. They don't have that much time to break through their cultivation level little by little and reach the 9th level of the great sage's peak cultivation level. Only here can they improve their cultivation level as quickly as possible. The Demon Lord will not wait for them. Yan Xianglue is now the one who suppresses the Demon Lord. She can feel the Demon Lord's power getting stronger every moment. Although she doesn't know how the Demon Lord does it, she knows that her own power can suppress the Demon Lord. Time is getting shorter and shorter. After all, everyone in Xuanhuan continent knows about the Demon Lord. It is also good for them to eliminate demons. Coming back here again, she still felt a dull sense of depression. This is also the place where they separated in their previous life. They can also tell their parents and friends who stayed in the 9 UN continent that they are fine by opening the 9 heavens passage. Now that they have left Xuanhuan continent, the power of faith is decreasing little by little, which is definitely different from what they were in Xuanhuan continent. The 3 years previously estimated are no longer possible. This is because the power she used to suppress the Demon Lord was the power of faith, and almost all of this power of faith came from the 9 UN continent. Black Spring, the name is not scary, but the black character already tells people what the situation inside is like. The reason why they came here was because the passage from Xuanhuan continent to Xianxia was also nearby. Yanziongloo glanced at the tall stone tablet standing on the barren land. On it was engraved the two words Black Spring in large letters, and next to it were four small words Land of Death. Since they have made a promise, now that they have the strength, they naturally need to open the passage first. If the people of Xuanhuan continent are strong enough to come to Xianxia, it is also a good thing to come as soon as possible. These four words seem to be more penetrating than the two words Black Spring. The purpose is to warn people who come here and don't know where it is inside, not to go in any further. Jijudian nodded, okay. Yanziongloo remembered very clearly that Jizhong fell and disappeared in front of that stone tablet. Yanziongloo took a deep breath and said to Jizhong, let's open the passage from Xianxia to Xuanhuan continent first. Now it is very easy for them to open the passage from Xianxia to Xuanhuan continent. The two of them took off in the air and flew for about a quarter of an hour before they saw rows of aperture arches. This is where Xianxia controls various high-level mainlanders to come to Xianxia. Each arch has words on it, which is the name of the higher continent opposite, representing the corresponding continent. The two found the arch of Xuanhuan continent. The other doors were all white light, representing normal passage. Only the door of Xuanhuan continent glows gray, indicating that the passage is closed. Yanziongloo and Jizhong were speechless. With so many passages to various continents, only Xuanhuan continent was closed. How unlucky is Ninefold continent? The two of them input spiritual power together. The spiritual power of the great sage's cultivation was very powerful. It directly lit up the light in the passage. The light flowed along the arch towards the Xuanhuan continent on the opposite side, until it lit up the entrance where Xuandu came. Bright. Since they left Xuanhuan continent, someone has been guarding the entrance of the passage. Suddenly I saw the passage light up. Everyone who saw it was stunned. They couldn't believe it. They thought they were too absorbed in their thoughts. They rubbed their eyes. The passage was still lit, and then a burst of cheers broke out. The human emperor and his wife have opened the passage, someone shouted loudly. This news spread instantly, and the people who were guarding the passage to practice were also awakened by the sound, and they all came to the entrance of the passage as quickly as possible. Looking at it, it turned out that the passage was no longer gray, but shrouded in extremely bright white light, and the stone archway-like door also became brighter. Those present immediately spread the news to their relatives and friends. It has been 10,000 years. The passage has been sealed for 10,000 years. It has finally been opened. As long as their cultivation reaches the requirements, they can go to the 9 heavens. This is not a dream, it is real. They were shocked that Jizhong and Yanziongloo had really gone to other continents, and had gone to Xianxia through passages from other continents. Moreover, they were able to open the passage in such a short time. How powerful these two people were! Always exceeding their expectations. And Xianxia and his wife also received the news immediately. The couple were very excited. The two children should have found a way to open the passage when they got there, otherwise how could they have done it so quickly? They never expected that the two children would make rapid progress when they arrived there, and now they would have joined the ranks of the 9 heavenly powers. After all, no one would have thought that they could break through to the strength of the 9 heavenly powers in just 1 month. Just after the two of them left Xuanhuan continent, someone else from Tianqian continent came to Xuanhuan continent, and the first one to come here was Baitang Yunfan. He was holding back his energy and practicing with all his strength. He just wanted to go to the higher continent as soon as possible and didn't want to lag too far behind Jizhong. But when he came here, he could hear about the deeds of Jizhong and Yanziongloo everywhere, especially when he knew that they had ascended to the Xianxian continent. He was so shocked that he almost collapsed. How long has it been? While he was still trying his best to come to the higher continent, he already had the strength to go to the Nine Heavens continent. Bai Tangyunfan thought that Yan Xiangluo had once said that she wanted to go to Zhekongtian to see the evergreen tree. Now her wish had finally come true. It was a pity that he was not the one accompanying her. Bai Tangyunfan was really hit hard by the two of them, but when he learned about the demon, he cheered up in an instant. It is an established fact that one's own talent and strength are not as good as theirs, but it does not mean that one is worse than others. Eliminating demons is the responsibility and obligation of everyone. He could no longer lose to them in terms of mentality, so he started practicing hard again. I just hope that I can help in eradicating the demon. Among the group of people who came later were Yan Xiangluo's first best friend Jin Xinrong and Bai Tangyunyu. This young couple had already gotten married in Tianqian continent.